The Great Rod Race saw myself and Mick Brown trying to catch over 40 species of fish in 30 days. Our latest challenge sees us going from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England in a tiny camper van. We've got 30 days to do it, 700 miles to cover. It's a pound of fish for every mile that we travel. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, here we are. This is Killary on the west coast of Ireland, one of the wettest places in Ireland in actual fact, and it's already living up to its reputation. If you want to see where we are, then check out on the map the town of Westport. We're quite near there, and as you can see, this is an estuarine area, beautiful coastal scene. Around about 592 miles in a direct line, Mick, according to the sat-nav from Journey's End. Now, that's in the east of England, in a town called Lowestoft, but of course it won't be 592 miles, because I reckon that with all the deviations that'll take place in between, we've got something like 800 pounds of fish to complete the journey from here at Killary all the way across to Lowestoft. That's going to be difficult in its own right, and what else is going to be difficult is catching enough fish off this beach area here to get us to our next location, which is Marm at the top end of Loch Corrib. Now that's about 20 miles away, so that means we've got to catch about 20 pounds of fish here at Killary, so fingers crossed. This is absolutely stunning, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
When you think about all those Mediterranean beaches and the concrete jungle and the people packed like sardines, we're the only people on this beach.
Yeah, it's marvellous, isn't it? The only trouble is, mate, where'd you buy an ice cream?
Well, we've got too many fish to catch to worry about ice creams. As long as it's got fins and the combined weight is 20 pounds of the catch, I don't care what we get. Because our shore fishing experience is so limited, I thought maybe we might need a little bit of help here on the opening leg. So I've got a couple of the local boys. They've brought with them some good tackle and some bait.
Sounds good to me, mate.
Well, this is it, our fishing spot, and actually it's a pretty comfortable fishing platform, you know, because although we've got some rocks to scramble down here, they're certainly not too sharp, and it's fairly easy to get down to the water. We've got a nice grassy platform above, and then in terms of the habitat, we've got a rock shelf in front of us, which is an ideal place to sort of intercept fish that might like the rocks, and then clearer water much further out, so that'll hold different species of fish. Now, as we've already said, we know very little about shore fishing, so I've recruited a couple of local experts. I'm talking about Fergus and Ben. I've had a bit of a chat with the boys about what we might expect to catch, and the basic consensus of opinion is that we're looking at dogfish, rays, probably thornback rays, and then the possibility, if we fish closer in, nearer to this rocky shelf, of the odd marauding conger. So those are the three main species. Well, I can't think of a better place to start, really. Let's just hope that the fish bite.
Well, I've never really done this sort of fishing before. I've had a go at it, but never been very successful, so cobbled something together which I think might work. And it's a simple paternoster setup with a short hook link and a long bomb link. Now, I've got a 5-ounce gripple head, which I know is right because I've seen you using that on your rod. I take it it's got quite a few functions, really. Perhaps you could run me through that.
Well, the fish takes this, the gripple head will hold, and when you pull it, these will open up.
Oh, I see,
so
yeah.
you come back.
So it's a very sophisticated bit of equipment, that, really. Now, let's have a look at the hook link and the baits. Now, you've used a small piece of sand eel there, and first of all, I noticed you've used quite a small hook. Yeah. I've embarrassed myself by bringing a rather large hook. You'd use a hook that size for conger, would you?
Conger, yeah.
But not for dogfish?
Not for dogfish, no.
So that can go back in the bag?
Back in the bag, yeah.
Right, so you put a size 1 on for me, piece of sand eel, but what's this here? You've tipped it with a piece of mackerel.
Piece of mackerel, yeah. Make it more enticing, you know.
Oh, I see. That sort of draws the dogfish into the end where the
more
hook is.
scent coming out of this end.
Yeah, and you reckon with this setup I might be able to cast far enough?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll have a go anyway. You know me, game for anything.
Oh, well.
See what I can do.
The crowd has gathered to witness the marvellous event. Sir Michael, about to give a fine demonstration of beach casting. Oh, it's a fine effort. I'm proud to be your fishing partner. Here's our close-in rig. We've got a strip of mackerel on the bottom hook, and above that, a smaller strip of bait on the top hook held up with a poly ball. I'm not going to fish this one very far out because there's a rocky shelf here, and this is the sort of place where you might find a bigger fish like a conger, so it's not a long cast, and if this rod goes, it could be a big bonus fish. Well, I don't think that was too bad, actually.
Wow, that was a massive cast, wasn't it?
Well, I don't think that was too bad. Now, as you can see, we've got a few rods here. I'm fishing with two, Mick's going to fish with two. This rod is out in the centre of the bay where the ground's a lot clearer than inside, so it's a good rod for things like dogfish and rays. The quicker it comes, the better, really. It's a long journey and time's of the essence.
I've had a bite at last and I've got a fish.
Got one on me.
I've got a feeling that it's come off.
Mick's not only lost the fish, but he's also got his rig stuck in the rock.
I've lost you a lead there, haven't I, Fergus?
Better look next time.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a fish on.
Worse will happen yet.
Come on, come out.
It will get a lot worse than this.
It is an eel. Oh no! It's probably 3 or 4 pounds. That's 3 or 4 miles, isn't it?
I could see what was going to happen.
It's a bit of a gutter, actually.
See, it wasn't your fault.
I can't get it up to the surface. Oh, snapped another one. Well, this is an absolute disaster. Rick, we might be here till midnight in about 3 days' time. I've just had a bite on this rod here. There's definitely some weight there, but I can't figure out what at the moment. I'll just scramble down. I can feel something, but it's not kicking back very hard. There's so many rocks down in front of us. I can see something there. Yes, we're off the mark. May not be the most sporting fish in the world, but we've got a mile on our journey, or two. This is a dogfish, and he's been nailed right in the front of his snout. And let's just pop the hook out, there he is. Interesting fish this, they're very wiry. They're a member of the shark family actually, or sharks and rays to be more specific. They're often a nuisance actually when you're fishing for other species, but today anything goes, and I reckon that's about 2 pounds. You can see where the relationship comes with a shark because they've actually got quite sharp teeth here, filled with row upon row of very, very sharp, albeit small teeth. It'll give you a good nip, that would. As far as I'm concerned, this little chap is worth his weight in gold. Fantastic, we're off the mark. You're not having this for your dinner. Just had a bite there. Yeah, I've got a fish on. Now, we've already got 2 pounds on the board, so any contributions are gratefully received. I must say, actually, this fish feels a little bit heavier. It feels like a decent weight, and that could be absolutely wonderful news for us. Here comes the fish, and it looks like a ray, actually. Not a big one, but it's more points on the board. He's kind of got a little bit wrapped up in the rig. He's taking his tail round it, but there you go. Now, this is a thornback ray. As you can see, it's covered in these thorny appendages across its back and along its wings. They're very, very sharp. It's beautiful colours though, look at that. It blends in perfectly with its environment. It can actually change colour to match the bottom, and you can see the thorns all over it there. It's a very unusual fish. It's got an underslung mouth. It scoots along the bottom and it kind of forages around and feeds with that underslung mouth. Well, I think maybe I'm going to give myself about £1.5 pounds for this, I think. Not a particularly big fish, but it's another 1.5 miles on the board, and got to be grateful for everything that we get, I think. We're currently 16.5 pounds short of our target. We're going to put this little fella back. The ray swum down to the bottom now, and look at him. He's changed colour, and he's actually become a perfect colour match for these rocks here. If I was standing on top of this rock now, looking down, I didn't know there was a fish there, I'd think that was a rock on the bottom, the perfect camouflage. I think that's amazing.
I don't fancy fishing off here in the dark, so we'd better really step it up a bit, mate. Well, I think we've got a proper fish on now.
Well, I thought there was nothing on this, but there is.
We desperately need to get this one on the bank.
This one's got to come in. And I'll tell you, these fish are worth their weight in gold.
Yes, we needed that one.
It takes the total up now to £5, and that is 5 miles, folks.
Fergus reckons it's about £3. That takes us up to £8 now. Look at that, perfectly blended in with the rock now.
Every rod counts now.
Well, I've just changed one rig over for a conger.
Everybody conger. Now, we just had a right old wrap over then, a real good bite. But we're up to £13.5 now, and this fish could be really important. But that's very, very valuable points again.
Weigh that one, Matt. It's £1 13 ounces.
It looked like he was striking into a marlin, never mind a dogfish.
Oh, that's got to be £2.
Super. What does that take us up to? About £15?
15 and a quarter now, Matt. Right, I've had a dogfish and it's £2 1 ounce. Do you want to put your one in there with it?
Well, we're just checking now that we're not cheating ourselves or the public by estimating these fish, because I've been saying these are 1.5 this size, okay? So you know you've got one of £2 in the bag.
Yeah.
There you go.
About
They are.
3.11. So
I'm bang on then.
you're £1 10, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm bang on.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 more dogfish. That's another £3.5.
Yeah.
That takes us to £11.5 now,
11.5,
mate.
yeah. Do you know, I think if we fish hard until dark, we might just be out of here today.
Cooking on gas, son.
Well, I've just checked the scores, mate, and we need 2 3/4 pounds before we can move on.
Well, let me... Oh, no!
I'm well bent into one here, and at the moment we're looking for about 2 3/4 pounds to get us on our way to Corrib, and this doesn't feel too bad actually. Well, I thought it was heavy. I've got 2 fish on. Oh well, we've definitely done it here if I can get these 2 on the bank, Matt. We've got 2 dogfish together. Yeah, there's one for everybody.
Well done, Sir M. A fine achievement.
Have you noticed with dogfish, they close their eyes when you get them on the
Yeah,
bank?
they do, yeah. Do you want me to deal with this one?
Yeah, please, mate.
Okay.
They are strong fish, aren't they?
They're very wiry. They're little sharks, that's why.
Yeah.
There you
Anyway,
go,
that
mate.
one's in the bag.
Well, I'd like to add the second. That's him.
Right. Pop the second one
Okay,
in.
buddy. There you
What
go.
do we need?
2 3/4.
2 3/4,
Yeah.
and then we can move.
And I'll tell you, my son, that we have
£3.
£3. So what does that make the total, Nick?
20 1/4.
So we've done it, mate.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
that's absolutely brilliant. But do you
20
think
and a
maybe
quarter.
we should try and get a couple of pounds on the keep net?
You know me, I don't need persuading to carry on fishing. I reckon I've got another £2 of it. We'll call that one a pound, shall we?
The light's closing in. I think that'll do us.
Yeah, we'll call it 32, yeah?
Yep.
Right, Matt, I've just plotted our course on the GPS and it's exactly 20.72 miles to where we want to get to on Corrib tomorrow.
Well, that's interesting because actually I've got our clapperboard here from our results earlier today on the beach, and we've got 32 3/4 pounds. So it means we can go to Corrib, keep £12 in the keep net, which is very important because I think we're going to struggle on some venues. We've got over 500 miles to do, probably more like 800 when you take into account the deviations. Tomorrow we're course fishing, so we're probably going to need plenty of this stuff. We've got ground bait in every orifice of this van, folks. This is a bream ground bait, absolutely perfect, because tomorrow on Corrib, I think we're going to be fishing for roach, bream and hybrids. And let me say, if it goes anything like today, I'll be absolutely delighted. But for now, Sir M, I think we will bask in our reflected glory, enjoy a cup of tea and see what the morrow brings. Well, our journey from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England started really, really well. Remember that for every pound weight of fish we catch, we can travel 1 mile, and we've got a long way to go, all right. But yesterday at Killary, we managed to catch 32 3/4 pounds of fish off the shore, which exceeded our wildest dreams. It got us off to a great start. Now, we've used up 20 of those pounds to get here. This is the top end of Loch Corrib at a place called Marm. And we've come here because we're going to take a gamble. Now, the more fish we can catch in this early part of the journey, the better it is, because it's a long way we've got to go. We're going to get difficult days, so we need to add pounds weight of fish to our keep net. And we think here, at the top end of Loch Corrib, we've got a chance of catching bream, roach bream hybrids and roach. But I've never fished here before, and all we're going on is rumours. If it comes off, it's going to be spectacular. If we get it wrong, well, we've wasted 20 pounds or 20 miles. We'll see what happens. It looks a great area, doesn't it? Brian's brought us across to this bay here. Well, we're exposed to the elements, but we'll take our chances. Put a bag of that in, Mick. That's it. That's yours.
Smells good.
Well, I've just had a bite, a big drop back, and I've definitely got a fish on. It's really hard to tell what's going on out in this wave. The wind switched round now. It's coming across the side of us, and Corrib's just spitting its venom at us now. It's almost as if it's saying, don't be so stupid, go home. But I've got a perch here. It's not a monster, about half a pound, but there it is. At least we've caught something. Beautiful looking fish, absolutely immaculate actually, look at that. And I can give myself a half pound without worrying about the keep net. If I get some bream and roach, of course, we'll do that, but just slip this fish back. Just nice to get a bite.
Oh, that didn't look very... Well, this isn't a lot to show for an hour's casting, but at least it's going to take us on another mile or two. And on a day like it's been today, it's very welcome. Little jack pike of about 1.5 pounds, I suppose. At least it'll get us on another couple of miles, and I think maybe that one combined with Matt's perch probably weigh about £2 between the two of them. But I'm beginning to think now that we're not really building up enough mileage. I think it's time for us to talk about having a move, and I've been thinking about getting back up to the harbour where we started off. I saw a few roach topping up there. Put this little chap back, then I'll go and have a word with Matt and see what he thinks.
We've just started fishing here on the harbour where the river just cuts into a channel before it enters the lake, and I've had 2 or 3 casts in feeding maggots on the waggler, and I'm into a fish straight away. Yeah, that's a nice fish. That's definitely one for the net. Roach bream hybrid, and if there's a few of these about, you can build up a good net of fish quite quickly.
Well, with that fish from Matt, today's total is now 2 3/4 pounds. Just trotting maggots down the swim on the current, and I've hooked quite a nice fish actually. Oh, lovely fish. That's going to take us a couple of miles anyway. It's got a fairly roach looking head, but there's a lot of bream in this. It's more bream than roach actually.
There we go, now that's really interesting. First putting on the pole and I'm into a fish. I decided to change tactics because the problem here is that the water's very deep. It's about 12 foot in front of me, but that depth varies a great deal. And we've also got the problem of this backflow here. That's a nice fish. Looks like a roach, this one. Here he comes. Nice. Well, that's really interesting, actually. First putting on the pole and I've got one. I know one swallow doesn't make a summer, but that's a beautiful roach. That's not a hybrid, that one. Proper clean roach. It's got beautiful reddish fins, silver body coloration. Very, very nice fish. Put it in the keep net. Now, because of the awkward flow here, the flow's basically coming backwards towards me, and the depth, the uneven nature of the bottom, I decided that basically I was wasting my time by loose feeding and fishing on the float. So I decided to use much heavier ground bait, put maggots inside the ground bait and feed heavy balls of ground bait into the swim. The idea being to bomb the bait down to the bottom. So the ground bait balls go in, they're much denser than the mix I was using in the feeder. They plummet to the bottom, they break up on the bottom, releasing the maggots. And it appears to have worked because what I'm doing is fishing and feeding in the same place, whereas before, I'm pretty sure my feed was just getting washed all over the place. So it's been a successful tactic, at least on the first throw in. Let's just see if we can repeat the success with another one. Well, it's the end of our second day. How have you got on, mate?
Well, I haven't done great. I had a very nice hybrid. Do you want to take a look, see what I got?
Yeah.
Oh, I fished hard
Look
in.
at that, the more breastfeeders in there. Don't let them go.
I'll tell you what, I scraped the bottom today.
You certainly have.
Let's have a look what we've got there. Well, there you are, mate. £4, 2 ounces. We'll call it £4 around figure.
Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. Well done, mate. Do you want me to get mine now?
Yeah?
I think I've done quite well, Brownie.
Oh, you have an half. Oh, get them in the weigh bag.
It worked really well. I've had some really nice roach and some good hybrids as well. This is proper Irish fishing here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's your lot.
Scales are 0, look.
Okay.
Oh, you've done well, mate. 18
18 and a half.
18 and a half.
Well, that's all right, isn't
Very
it?
good effort, mate. Very good. Well done, mate.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic because when you think about it, we've got 18 and a half pound there,
Yeah.
£4 you just caught, that's 22 and a half.
Yeah, correct.
And we had £2 earlier on.
Yeah.
That's 24 and a half.
Correct,
Plus
yeah.
we'd already got £12 in our keep net, don't forget. So we finished day 2 with 36 and a half pounds, which is
Yeah.
absolutely beyond our wildest dreams. We mustn't get too excited because we're going salmon fishing next. And I think
Yeah.
we could go right back down to earth. But it's been a fantastic start. Killary was superb. We ended up with a load more fish than we thought we'd get there. Struggle out here today. The weather was absolutely awful, but then we came back to the marina and we cracked it off. And it just goes to show that a few hours in the right place is worth a lot of time in the wrong place. We're well on the road, sir.
Put it there, mate.
Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Our journey across Ireland and England continues, and remember the rules of the game are simple. It's pounds for miles. You find us here today at Screeb Fishery on the west coast of Ireland. Now, so far we've caught 57 pounds of fish on our journey, but to get here to Screeb, which you'll find near to the Connemara Mountains, we've of course used mileage up. So we're currently standing on our notional keep net. Here it is. At 28 and a half pounds. That's our fat reserve, if you like. And although that may seem pretty good, and it is, when we leave this area in Western Ireland, we're going to need a lot of miles in reserve to get ourselves across to the Shannon system. So the more fish we can catch, the better it's going to be for us. And that brings us to Screeb. Well, what sort of place is it? It's a salmon, sea trout and brown trout fishery. You'll find it very near to the Connemara Mountains. And Trevor here is acting as gilly for us today. He's brought us down to this fabulous complex in absolutely appalling weather. So thank heavens for this hut. It's a good chance to dry out, discuss tactics, tie up a few leaders and get the flies on the line ready to fish later on. And we're going to need to fish hard because we really do need to catch some fish. So at some point, we're going to have to leave the comfort of this turf fire, go outside and start fishing.
Where'd you buy an ice cream?
I'm proud to be your fishing partner. Come on. It is an eel. Oh no!
It'll get a lot worse than this.
Fantastic, we're off the mark. Looks like a ray. It's another 1.5 miles on the board. Not a monster. Roach bream hybrid.
That's going to take us a couple of miles anyway. Oh, you've done well, mate. 18 and a half.
We're well on the road,
Put
sir.
it there, mate.
Well, the weather is
absolutely horrendous, which is pretty obvious. It's a very strong wind, the rain's lashing down, but I can tell you I'm really excited. I'm not catching anything, but when I'm retrieving that fly, all the time in my mind, I'm just imagining what it's going to feel like if a salmon grabs it. Over the years, I've done a little bit of fly fishing. I've caught pike, perch, zander, chub, dace, even a few roach and rudd on the fly, but I've never caught a salmon. So I'm prepared to put up with this awful weather just for a chance of catching a salmon on a fly rod. You probably think I'm crazy. You could be right.
Well, this is certainly the hardest fly fishing conditions I think I've encountered anywhere. We haven't caught anything, and I'm not really surprised because we're not fishing very effectively.
The chance of a big trout down there imitate something like maybe a shrimp or a small fish as well.
This is absolutely nuts. In all the time I've been fishing, I can't remember such a horrible day, actually. But the bottom line is, Mick, that basically the day's written off, mate. We can't carry on in this. It's just impossible. And when you're on a rod race like this one, to lose a day is, well, it's just devastating, really, and that's what's happened to us.
Maybe if we get a few trout under our belts, it's going to get us a bit further, isn't it?
Well, it'd be nice to catch something because we've burned up 8 miles getting here, and so we've probably done about 20 miles of our cushion.
Yeah.
What's the forecast for tomorrow?
Strong gales and more showers.
So this is just a light breeze then, really? I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Well, yesterday was probably the lowest ebb I've had in filming and fishing in all the time I've been doing it. Remember, we're in a rod race whereby we've got to catch pounds of fish to move miles. And we lost yesterday. The weather was so bad with howling wind and driving rain. Eventually, it literally drove us off the water. And we took a decision last night. We had a debate. Well, what do we do about this? There is no point in us travelling anywhere at the moment because if we do, Mick, we're just going to use up valuable pounds of fish in travelling. All of the rivers in the area are in flood. The lakes are way too windy to go out fishing, certainly in a boat. We had got plans to get on the Oughterard River to fish for some roach, and we'd still like to do that, but it's in flood. There's no point in moving an inch at the moment. We're going to stay here. We're just going to hope that we catch something, whether it's a trout or some salmon, and then if the weather breaks, we're going to move on. But the forecast is exactly the same, and as you can see, we're having the fishing equivalent of an absolute bob howler. Well, as you can see from the condition of the bog here, the water's risen quite considerably on yesterday, and it's difficult to know exactly what fly to use. Presentation is really difficult here, but I've got some typical salmon flies for this area. They're tied on size 8, 10 and 12 trebles, and they're generally reminiscent of shrimp-style patterns, which is a good idea because you're basically trying to present the salmon with something it did feed on when it was at sea. I've even got some tied down to size 16s, but for today, I think they're going to be a little bit small. With the extra water, I'm going to go for something with a slightly bigger profile, and I've got this fly. It's a long-tailed Alice shrimp with some yellow in it. It's a fly that I tied myself, and I'm quite glad I did actually, because I think it'll show up well in the peat-stained water, and it might be a valuable weapon today. One thing you must remember about the salmon is that it doesn't feed in fresh water. It does all of its feeding out at sea, and they enter systems like this one solely for the process of breeding. Now that means that when you put a fly or a lure in front of a salmon, it's taking it more out of a reaction or an instinctive feeding memory than it is out of hunger. So the presentation is absolutely critical. So what we're trying to do is swing the fly past the salmon's nose. And I've found it particularly difficult to do that in these pools because the currents are eddying all over the place and the wind is making that even more difficult. But we'll give it a go, and as long as we've got a fly in the water, I guess we're always in with a chance of a fish. I certainly hope so. How do you feel you did, Sir Michael?
Well, I think my casting's getting better, but I just didn't feel like I was getting down to the fish.
No, I put this sinking poly leader on at the end to do that.
Yeah.
And it definitely slowed the fly line down. But
Yeah,
the
but-
thing I had the biggest problem with was the current's so unpredictable. It just swirls this way and that, and I
Yeah,
just didn't
yeah.
feel my fly was swinging round properly.
Yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, it's all about fly presentation, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, having scared every salmon in the pool,
Well, should we try somewhere else?
yeah,
And we've got to remember, we're fishing for miles, so we've got to catch something.
I know.
Okay.
I'm worried.
Come on then, Sir Matthew.
Well, after experiencing truly horrendous weather at the Screeb fishery, a wonderful place, just totally the wrong time to fish it, we've been literally blown off the water. And against our better judgment, really, we've moved. We've come down here to the Oughterard River in the town of Oughterard. And this is normally a gentle, placid, flowing piece of water that joins the massive Loch Corrib further down. But as you can see today, with all the rain we've had, the river's up and flowing. It's full of black water that's coming off the peat bog that surrounds this area. And we're fishing for roach. I certainly don't think it's going to be easy, but we've got no choice. Time's ticking away. We've got a journey to complete. We've only got 30 days to complete the whole journey from the west coast of Ireland right the way across the east coast of England. So we've gone for the gamble and we're hoping to scrape together a few pounds of fish. Now, so far, the scores on the doors are that we've caught something like 57 pounds of fish, but we've used up 40.5 miles, and that leaves us just 16 pounds of fish in our notional keep nets. And we know that that is not enough to get us out of this area across the Shannon system, where we hope to do some serious bagging up. So we've got some work to do. It's early evening now. We've probably got a couple of hours fishing left. The best thing we can do is scratch away at this, try and catch a few roach, at least get some fish on the board, and then maybe come back here tomorrow morning or maybe go out on the loch. We're just going to have to see what the weather brings. But if it keeps on raining, I think we're in trouble.
There's a bite. Oh, I'm into one at last. First bite.
Going to need quite a few of these to build up a good weight.
Into another one.
After the session we've had, it's a relief actually.
I reckon these are probably going about 3 or 4 to the pound. That's another one. A few more miles.
That's a slightly better one. This is interesting actually because this fish has got what we call spawning tubercles on it. They come up the river to breed, and when you see these little white nodules on the fish's head, its body's very rough to the touch. It means it's getting ready to spawn.
Another small one. Oh, actually, it's not that small. It won't take us long to build up a nice weight.
Well, it's no more Mr. Nice Guy, folks. I've given those fish a chance to respond on the feeder. I've had a couple of fish. It's not really worked out, so I've had enough now. I'm going in on the float. Although it's not very good float fishing conditions because of the strong flow down the middle, I'm just going to run the float down at them, just try and make them have it, really.
Like Matt, I've realised that the feeder's a waste of time, so I've changed over to a float.
There's the first fish on the float, just fishing it right across the other side.
That's the best twig I've had all evening, 2.5 feet long.
It is just utterly appalling.
The wind and the rain and the lack of fish is starting to get to me now.
It really is dire. I'm going to put your mighty catch.
Yeah?
I mean, these could be very valuable, actually. And don't look at me for a result this time, because I haven't had one, I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what, if these get us
Nick,
to...
you really are scraping the bottom of the
We are,
barrel.
mate. Look, we've got to get to the top of the road, and this catch might just about do
Yeah,
it.
drop that in there. Oh yeah, I've got a nice,
Oh,
nice,
we're going to get to £2.
nice fat one here.
Yeah, we'll get to £2.
And another one there. I think that's my lot. That's it, Mick.
Yeah, look, we've just
Oh,
scraped in
£2.
£2, 2 ounce.
And the cumulative total is, Sir M?
Well, we had £16.5 before we started, so 18 and a half now.
18 and a half pounds. And 18 and a half pounds, I can tell you now, is nowhere near enough to get us to our next location, which is on the Shannon system around Lough Derg. That's somewhere between 30 and 40 miles. 18 pounds is not enough, so we've got no choice. We sit tight here. We hope that the conditions change. We try our new plan. But we've got some fish to catch, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that it's stopped raining, at least for a while, although the forecast is for heavy rain this afternoon. But we've had to completely change our plans. Overnight, the rain got heavier, the river has risen even more. It's now completely unfishable, and we were faced with the dilemma, well, what do we do? And we've had to come off course. By coming, basically, down the loch to go back up it later on, we've gone way off beam. We were scratching our heads saying, well, where can we fish? Where can we catch some fish? And we've come here to Ballyquirk Loch. It's got a good head of roach, some hybrids and bream, and we're hoping here that we can bag up. To get here, we've used up 10 valuable miles, and the further bad news is that our keep net is now down to 8.5 pounds only. We haven't even got enough fish in it to get back to where we started from at Oughterard. I figure we need something like 35 to 40 pounds of fish in the next 2 days to get us on course for the Shannon. I'm going to fish the feeder. I'm going for roach, I'm going for bream, roach bream hybrids, anything I can get basically. Mick's going to try for a pike, because if we could get just one pike weighing 10 pounds, that'd be worth an awful lot of roach. So that's the plan. Let's just hope it works.
Well, we're fishing somewhere today that we didn't expect to be fishing, and I think that's going to be the way it goes for the rest of the challenge. We don't really know where we're going to end up. The whole thing is unpredictable. I suspect we're going to end up doing a lot more miles than we anticipated, and that means catching a lot more fish.
Now, the feeder I'm using this time around is an open-ended feeder. It's called a cage feeder because it's made of a wire mesh. And these are very good for fishing in shallower water. It's only 6 to 7 feet deep out there. So the idea is that the water can attack the cage feeder from all sides, working through this mesh. Start off, plug a ground bait in the bottom, a few pellets, some maggots, and then ground bait on the top. Just push it down with your finger and thumb like this, just to compress it. Line up on your target on the far bank. In this case, I'm aiming at a particular tree. Make your cast. And then put the rod down on the rest. Watch the tip all the time that the feeder's falling, because you'll often get those bites on the drop. Give it perhaps a minute or so, and then just wind a few turns, just drag the feeder back, just perhaps a half foot or a foot, basically to pull your hook bait back into the ground bait. And that's the way you fish the open-ended feeder. One way to build a big weight very quickly is bream. There's a bite. Well, I've been getting one or two sort of slight little nudges on the tip. Now this, oh, he's come off. Oh no. I've just lost what felt like a good bream.
Just had a little knock then.
I mean, that's 3 or 4 miles on the journey if you lose a decent bream.
Well, I'm fishing the feeder in a fairly similar way to Matt, and by keep casting the feeder to the same place, hopefully the action should pick up and we should get more and more bites.
The one that stays on is a tiddler. Now that one's a roach bream hybrid. He's got a bit of roach in him and a bit of bream. Those fish are quite nice size for building up weight, because they're going about £0.5 pound each, so it's 2 to the mile if you look at it that way. Well, I've started to catch a few fish now. I'm regretting the one I lost, because I'm sure that was a proper bream. But I'm picking up hybrids, small skimmer bream and occasional roach, so I'm going to keep going, just keep plugging away with the feeder in the hope that basically some big fish move in. How are you getting on, Mick? You getting many bites?
Matt, I'm hardly getting any bites. I'm not getting chewed maggots on it. Matt's doing really well on the feeder, but I'm not doing well at all. I've put together 6 or 7 small roach, but we need a lot more than that.
There's a bite. Well, that's better. I've got a nice bend in the rod now. I think I'm into a fish similar to the one that I lost before. It's probably not as big, actually. It doesn't feel as heavy, but it'd be interesting to see whether this is a proper bream, because if it is, that's really encouraging. Well, it's taken about 2 hours to get the fish really going, but I think this is a proper bream. It certainly looks like one as it's coming towards the net, which is absolutely superb news, because if you get a shoal of those going, you can build a big weight very quickly. Here he comes. It's definitely a bream. Yes, now that is a great result. There it is, the common or bronze bream. And I'll tell you what, I've caught hundreds, if not thousands of these in my lifetime, but that one is very, very welcome. There's some scarring across the fish's back, you can see there, and I think that's a pike that's grabbed hold of the bream and left its mark. But he survived the encounter, and he's certainly in fighting fit condition now. That's exactly what we were looking for. That's 2.5, possibly 3 pounds of solid fish. That's what we want. Yes. Better be careful putting this one into the keep net. There it goes. Well, this is interesting. I've switched over to worm hook baits and I'm starting to get bigger fish. I'm getting a much higher proportion of bream. Not huge fish, but you know, nice pound-sized skimmer bream, which build up weight very, very quickly. I've had 3 or 4 of these in a row now. Well, that's really interesting. By switching across to the worm, it's definitely producing the bigger fish.
It just shows, doesn't it, a subtle difference in the tackle can make a huge difference in the catch rate.
Yeah.
Just had a little bit of excitement because the bobbin just lifted up. Well, I don't think it comes much grimmer than this. I'm sure it doesn't. I just want to go home at the moment.
Well, just when we thought it was all over, guess what? It's raining again. This place is an amazing country. It's so wet. It's rained every day since we've been here. And you know, the sport's petered out gradually. I thought it might get better and better, but the wind's gone cold now, the rain's arrived, and we're still getting the odd fish here and there, but it's nothing like it was, and we're just basically gradually stuttering towards our target rather than running through the tape. But we'll stick it out until we've got enough fish, or as near as we can get, and then pack up and try and dry the stuff in the van if we can.
Well, this is going to be the last fish of the day, and I reckon it's around the pound mark. We really need this. We need every one now. And I just hope it doesn't drop off. Yes, got it. Oh, we really needed that one. Somewhere around the pound mark, and we're desperate for every one now, so that's going to give us around another mile. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's the last fish of the day for me. I'm going to see Matt, and I think it's time we had the weigh-in.
Well, that's the end of the session. It's time for the weigh-in, and what I can tell you is that basically we need 45 pounds of fish to get from here across to Portumna on Loch Derg. And well, I don't think we've done it. In fact, I'm pretty sure we haven't, but we better look at how close we've got, Mick. Well, you've got some bream in there.
Well, I've got some nice
I
bream.
reckon you might have 4 pound there, mate.
Yeah, I was picked up the bream on the worm, as you know. 4.13, 4.14,
4.13.
Yeah.
Well, if we put these others in now, I've had a few more than you. If I just get my net.
Yeah, you've got a lot more than me there, a lot more.
One still in. No, there's 2 still in, Sir M.
Right, let's see what we've got.
Combined weight.
Well, there it is, 20 pounds and 3 ounces.
£20 3.
Well, that's not even going to take us halfway, is it?
Nope. Well, I've worked out that we need 45 pounds to get to Portumna on Loch Derg.
Yeah.
We've got 8 pound in our notional keep net. Plus that's 28, so we're 17 pounds short. And well,
That's well short.
yeah, I don't think we thought we'd be in this position. The weather and everything we faced. Our banker was going to be the Oughterard River, that blew out. Then we came here, this ain't fishing that well, you know. We're stuck. Basically, we're stuck.
Yeah. Well,
So we're going to have to work out what we're going to do. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. So if you want to find out what our contingency plan is, you'll have to tune in next time. Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, you join us here in the midst of a dilemma. We're actually travelling across Ireland and England from the west to the east in a journey that's probably going to be around about 800 miles. And currently we're stuck in Ireland. Now, the problem is that we've got to catch a pound of fish for every mile we want to travel. And we literally haven't caught enough from our last session to make a big jump from over here on Loch Corrib near Galway to over here on Loch Derg. Now, the area in between these two lochs is pretty well barren of fish. At the moment, we're around about 17 pounds short. It's 45 miles from where we are now across to Loch Derg, which means we need 45 pounds of fish in our keep net. We've currently got 28. So we think we can save a little bit of time by going to Woodford here, where there's a carp and tench lake. That's 43 miles, so we're only 15 miles short. So what we're going to do is this. Today we're going to fish on Loch Corrib near to Galway. A friend of mine's got a boat down at Oughterard. He's agreed to bring the boat down, take us out on the loch, and the idea is somehow by hook or by crook we've got to catch 15 pounds of fish. Now, to help us along our way, we're basically going to divide our efforts, and Sir Michael has got a little bit of a master plan. I'm going to be fishing fly fishing techniques with wet and dry flies. And you, Sir Michael?
Well, I'm going to be using a traditional Irish way of catching these big brown trout on Corrib called dapping, and it actually involves using a real live mayfly. And it has been said, Matt, it often produces the bigger fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really are, yeah.
Traditional Irish method, the more modern fly fishing method. One thing's for sure, we need 15 more pounds by hook or by crook. We've got to catch those trout.
You probably think I'm crazy.
This is absolutely nuts. Such a horrible day, actually.
We're fishing for miles, so we've got to catch something.
We've been literally blown off the water.
Oh, I'm into one at last.
We need quite a few of these to build up a good weight.
A few more miles.
Really hard scraping the bottom.
We are, mate.
Now that one's a roach bream hybrid.
Right, let's see what we've got. 20 pounds and 3 ounces.
Basically, we're stuck.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. We're out on the lake now. Jim Glynn, my friend from Oughterard's, come all the way down the lake to Galway to pick us up so we don't burn any more miles. And he's brought us back up the lake again because the weather conditions at the bottom end are pretty foul. But it's perfect up here for the mayfly. We've got a nice big rolling wave, sunshine and cloud, which is perfect for mayfly hatches. Mick's going to fish on the dap with a fly on the surface, and I'm stripping flies just below the surface through this rolling wave. Altogether, a perfect day for fishing the mayfly. Let's just hope it works. Yeah, we're just seeing a few mayflies start to emerge, the green drakes. Fish rising round us now. And this rolling wave is absolutely perfect for mayfly fishing. But I've got an octopus on, I've got a mayfly on the top. Success, Mick.
Yep.
Not a big trout, but there he is. How big's that, Mick? About half a pound?
Yeah, a bit more than that probably.
Our first fish of the day. He's not a big fish, he's under the size limit, so we've got to put him back. We can't eat him. Oh, he's right wiry. Well, there it is. Beautiful little trout. Probably about 10 ounces, but it's the first fish of the day, and we're off the mark. Oh, God.
Oh,
What's So Michael's just missed his first one on the mayfly,
I must admit I did strike.
and he disobeyed the golden rule, which is not to strike straight away.
Seen a very small fish as well.
This man can take the head off a gudgeon at 90 yards. Well, what we're doing now is collecting live mayflies for Mick to fish with, and May and June is a time of plenty here on Loch Corrib when the mayfly hatches in large numbers. Now, the mayfly is actually the world's most important fishing fly. It's a large insect. Trout love to eat it. It's quite an interesting life cycle. The insect, of course, begins life as an egg, but the first couple of years of its life are actually spent living on the lake bed, crawling around on the bottom, and it's known then as a nymph. It then swims up towards the surface and it begins to shed its pupal shuck, starts to expose its newly formed wings and emerge as an adult insect. And these are called green drakes. And then under the shade of these nearby trees, the mayflies will dance together and start their mating ritual. When they've actually done that, the females will go to the water, they'll lay their eggs maybe on the stems of some plants or reeds, and the mayflies will die, falling on the water with their wings out in a crucifix position, which is called spent. Let's just have a look at a mayfly now. You've got a good collection, haven't you, Mick, in this box?
I must have 50 or 60, and it's only taken us about 10 minutes to get them. Right.
There they all are.
Let's have a quick look how many I've got in there.
Let's just have a look at one in close-up, Mick. It's a very, very important insect, this. Here it is. You can see that the mayfly has got these large, very distinctive wings, and then these very distinctive tail whisks here, which are actually quite important when you tie a fly to imitate the mayfly. As you can see, that is a big, juicy meal for a hungry trout, and it doesn't need to get too many of these down it before it's full up. But everyone counts. So with a box full of mayflies at our disposal and a good hatch underway, I think it's time to get back on the water for you to fish the Dap, Mick, and see if we can get into some of these big trout. I better get in first then, Jim, eh? You want me at the back?
What's your rod, mate? I'm coming aboard.
Well then.
Take it away, Maestro.
It was beautiful there, given the shelter of the land and the trees. The sun was shining, but as we emerge onto a loch, we can see that conditions are not only difficult, they're also quite dangerous.
Well, this is the baited hook. It's so very, very basic. I'm just using an 8-pound fluorocarbon hookling, size 12 hook, and I've just impaled 2 of those live mayflies onto it. And I'm going to try and keep the rod high in the air and just try and dap the mayfly on the surface, no line at all on the surface, and get a really natural presentation. It's very hard to get this right for very long. It's really hard to concentrate. Yeah, he's taking it, Jim. He's taking it. Well, I've actually caught my first fish. That was incredible, that was. That was one of the best fishing experiences I've had.
Well, that's useful, Mick.
Yeah.
That size.
Well, this is going to get us a mile and a half, I think. Yes, hey, we've got it.
Hey.
Great, thank you, thank you. There it is, absolutely wonderful. Look at those spots. Well, I'm absolutely delighted to catch this fabulous Corrib trout on a new method for me anyway, dapping with live mayfly. Wonderful experience. There's quite an art to actually dapping, but there's even more of an art to actually getting the mayfly onto the hook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, that was a great
Matt's
bite.
in. Wow, Matt's
He's
in.
on. That was a really nice take, that one, Mick. Straight towards me here. I don't know whether he's come off. Oh, he has.
Into another one, Jim. I was falling asleep and all of a sudden a trout came up and hung itself. Yes. Right, that's a keeper, isn't it? Well, Matt, I've got another one.
I know, I can see it, Mick.
It's only a small one, but it's another half a mile, I think. Oh, yes, woo! See that go? Yes. We're starting to get on our way. Don't forget to add that to the total. Into another one, Jim. That one really wanted it and he's took it right down. We'll travel another mile tomorrow.
Right, it's off. It's gone. After all the bad weather we've had, we couldn't have wished for a better day on Loch Corrib. It's such a big volume of water. It's 32 miles long and 10 miles wide, and can you imagine being out on it in the weather we had the other day? Although it's a difficult target to achieve, this £15 business, we've got half a chance, I think.
Well, it's only a little one, but will you give me £1/2 for that?
I will, yeah.
It's well undersized, so we'll slip it straight back, okay?
It's not a big one.
So that's not going to get us very far, is it?
Not far enough. Nice job.
No, we're in with a chance of doing this, I think.
Oh, there's a fish, Mick. Well, I'm in at last, Sir Em.
And about time.
Yes. Well, I was a bit gutted when I lost that big one earlier on, so at least I can make some form of contribution. Oh, look at him go. I've been plugging away with these wet flies for ages and ages with absolutely nothing. There's been nothing rising, and then right out of the blue, you just keep fishing and one comes up. Just hope it doesn't come off, because we need this.
Well, don't forget, every pound is a mile, so...
It's certainly hanging on.
Oh, it's not a bad fish.
No, it's a nice fish. I'm quite pleased, actually.
Well done, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that's definitely going to add close on 2 miles to the trip, I think.
Beaut.
That's a lovely fish.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, which fly did it take?
Well, it's taken, I think... I'm glad it's not Jim's yellow octopus. Oh, there you go, folks. What a beautiful way to end the day. The Connemara Mountains in the background, a golden sunset, and a golden trout to go with it. How big are you going to give me for that one, Mick?
I'm definitely going to give you £2 for that, mate.
This is going to break Jim's heart.
Yeah.
But I've had so much fun with this fish, I'm going to put him back. Go, baby, go. Come back as a 6-pounder. Well, the good news is that we've achieved our targets. We came out in pretty awful weather. The waves were breaking over the front of the boat, and for a while it looked like we might not be able to fish. The fishing when we did get into the bay was absolutely appalling. But as the wind eased, the sun came out, the fish came on the feed. Mick's had 2 or 3 nice fish on the DAP. I've had a few fish on the wet fly. They've really come on, and basically we've achieved our target of getting £45 in the keep net, which is great news. We're on the way to Woodford. We've done it.